Chairwoman Zheng, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You're here in Washington, D.C.,
Yes.
where the U.S. Congress has approved earlier this year a sale of weapons to Taiwan, $14 billion. Last month, as you know, the Trump administration paused the sale after the president went to Beijing. The president said that this sale of weapons to Taiwan was a good negotiating chip with Beijing, quote unquote. Have you received assurances on this trip to Washington that these weapons will be sold to Taiwan?
Oh, no.
As of now, we haven't received any information regarding the batch of arms sales to Taiwan.
Yeah, there are critics in Washington, I've lived here for a long time, who note that your party, the KMT, the Kuomintang, pushed to reduce the arms budget in Taiwan, and they have raised questions how committed your party is to defending Taiwan. Have you received those questions here? How do you respond to those?
Yeah.
Many people ask me this question, but I think that they are misled because for a long time, the KMT has been the strongest support for Taiwan's defense. Regarding the special defense budget, it has been operated in a black box manner, and we haven't seen any concrete content as to what is included. And also, the version proposed by the DPP has violated various legislation principles. So we don't want to see this kind of prolonged delay. Instead, we decided to approve of the FMS, foreign military sales first.
Oh, so you're saying this procedural reasons is the reason for this. You yourself met with Chinese President Xi Jinping earlier this year, the first meeting of the head of your party with a leader in mainland China in a decade. President Xi has said reunification with Taiwan is, in his words, unstoppable. Taiwan has been a self-governing, thriving island for more than 70 years. I lived there for many years. When you met with President Xi, did you respond to that assertion?
In fact, during my trip to mainland China, we didn't talk about the issue of reunification. Due to the rising tensions across the Taiwan Strait, we really hope that we'll be able to restart the cross-strait dialogue and negotiation and to create peace.
I just want to make sure I understand you. You said you did not discuss this question of reunification. Why not?
Because at this moment, we do not have the conditions to talk about this issue. Over the last 10 years, the contact and dialogue across the Taiwan Strait have been completely severed. So we can see rising tensions across the Taiwan Strait, and we are almost on the brink of war and conflicts. So it is our top priority to be very pragmatic and to start the cross-strait dialogue, hoping that tensions will be eased and will be able to create greater peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. So, due to the significant differences between both sides of the Taiwan Strait, we are hoping that through dialogue and communication, we will be able to reduce the unnecessary hostilities and to promote exchanges, thereby solving the cross-strait differences through peaceful means.
So you're talking about the beginning of a process to talk about these things. What is your long-term vision for Taiwan-China relations, say, over the next generation? What is your vision?
First of all, we really hope that we will be able to institutionalize the cross-strait relations, making it sustainable. And I understand that this is a huge undertaking. So I hope that through building the bridge, laying a solid foundation for cross-strait exchanges through peaceful means, people will be able to pursue their dreams as well as the future for both sides of the Taiwan Strait. So if you take a long-term perspective, if changes will happen in the status quo, then the will of the people from both sides of the Taiwan Strait must be respected. And of course, the will of the people of Taiwan must be respected. And we need to make sure that these kind of changes will serve the well-being of people from both sides of the Taiwan Strait.
So then, is one possibility then that the will of the people in Taiwan is that they want a political reunification with China? There are strong economic relations. I've reported from Taiwan and China. Then to you, that is an appropriate long-term result?
So if you're asking this question to the people of Taiwan now, I do believe that the majority of the people will support maintaining the status quo.
I guess my question is beyond the status quo.
Yes.
And maintaining a version of peace across the Taiwan Strait. I'm trying to understand how you personally think about where you think this relationship would go, separate from the people of Taiwan, from the will of the people in Taiwan. Personally, what is your vision for where this should go?
Personally, I do not have a final plan, but I think that the most important thing is that the well-being of the people of Taiwan must be protected and preserved. I think that looking to the future, I really hope that if we're able to completely normalize cross-strait relationship and have comprehensive exchanges, this means that there will be a completely innovative new invention beyond our imagination. So through this new kind of mechanism, then we are going to see greater exchanges across the Taiwan Strait.
As you're building this bridge, as you talk about it, there are critics of China in this town in Washington, D.C., who have been watching what's happening to Hong Kong, right, during the 1997 handover. There was a promise from Beijing that Hong Kong would be politically autonomous for 50 years. Here we are, less than 50 years on, in Hong Kong, independent media outlets have shut down. Nonprofit groups have shut down, fearing prosecution. Textbooks have changed. Public protests have ceased. This was under what Beijing calls one China, two systems. In your view, is Hong Kong a model for Taiwan?
In fact, Taiwan is completely different from Hong Kong. So the one country, two system formula can really can face great difficulties to be accepted by the people of Taiwan. So up until 1997, Hong Kong was a colony of the United Kingdom. And in 1997, Hong Kong was handed over back to mainland China. But Taiwan is a completely different situation. In 1945, we ended the colony of Japan and Taiwan was returned back to China, the Republic of China. And over the last decades, in Taiwan, we have the Constitution of the Republic of China, and Taiwan has developed into a mature and free society. So the situation in Taiwan is completely from that of Hong Kong.
There, of course, are some differences. What dissidents in Hong Kong, what critics of mainland China would say is that the critical question it raises is the trust of Beijing, the trust of China.
Yes.
You have met with President Xi Jinping. Do you trust him?
If we are to create peaceful relationship across the Taiwan Strait, it is necessary for us to have communication and dialogue so as to build mutual trust. And of course, in the first meeting, we will not be able to build the mutual trust instantly because mutual trust and goodwill will have to be accumulated and expanded. So, to build peace, it is very important to lay a solid foundation that is mutual trust. And now we are taking a very important first step, but there is still a long way to go. So step by step, we hope that we can make each step firm so that we will be able to include more people moving with us together down this pathway towards peace.
You speak of building mutual trust. I've lived in Washington for a long time, and as you're hearing surely on your trip here, there are many who think continuous engagement with China is naive, and they point to China's record on Hong Kong and other issues, that it's dangerous to get too close to China. Do you understand those concerns?
Yes, of course.
In the past, the KMT and the CCP were engaged in the tragic civil war. So you can say that these two parties are actually the most polarized two different parties fighting against each other. But we understand that we do not want to repeat this kind of tragedy. So this is the reason why we are trying our very best to seek peaceful coexistence. So, if war happens across the Taiwan Strait, Taiwan is going to face serious devastation. Then countries like the United States will inevitably get involved, and this may lead to the breaking out of World War III, and the whole world will suffer. This is a quote from President JFK, so don't fear of negotiation and don't go to negotiation with fear.
Speaking of potential conflict, today in Taiwan, Taiwan's military fired rockets in the direction of China, a apparent demonstration of how Taiwan might defend itself. It used American weapons, the HIMARS weapons system. You've spoken about your fear of a military conflict across the Taiwan Strait. How would you de-escalate tensions?
So, as I have mentioned before, as long as both sides of the Taiwan Strait return to the 1992 consensus and opposing Taiwan independence, on this foundation, I do believe that we will be able to have cross-strait dialogue very smoothly, and we'll be able to create an environment of goodwill, peace, and also sound environment. So, in the future, if the KMT can return to power in 2028, we will restart comprehensive exchanges with mainland China across all fronts, and we are hoping that through dialogue we'll be able to reduce the military activities and build the confidence-building mechanisms so as to prevent wars from happening.
Americans don't know much about Taiwan. It's true. So when you say that you oppose independence, how do you explain that to the American audience? Because for an American audience, that sounds a little shocking.
Okay. As I have mentioned before, in 1945, with the end of the World War II, Japan returned Taiwan back to China, the Republic of China. And also, after the relocation of the ROC government from mainland China to Taiwan, on the island of Taiwan, we already developed a very different democratic system from that of mainland China. However, the Constitution of the Republic of China is a one China constitution. So under the Constitution of the Republic of China, we have two areas. One is the mainland area and the other is the free area, meaning Taiwan. So this is the reason why, as long as we do not seek permanent separation between Taiwan and mainland China, then that is, there is no Taiwan independence, then based on this mutual foundation, we will be able to seek greater dialogue and reconciliation with mainland China. So the meaning of the 1992 consensus is that back in the 1990s, at the end of the Cold War, with this 1992 consensus, meaning both sides of the Taiwan Strait belong to one China. With this consensus in place, we're able to end the conflicts and start the exchanges. In fact, this policy serves the interest of the U.S. and other countries in the world. And actually, you can say this is a grand consensus. That is, they support the one China policy and not support Taiwan independence. So despite the significant differences between both sides of the Taiwan Strait, but we understand that instead of going war or having greater conflict, rather, we will be able to use dialogue to address these major differences.
That is right. Explicitly moving toward independence could potentially risk war, something you want to avoid, understand. So you mentioned a couple times something called the 1992 consensus. Allow me to translate a little bit for our audience. This is an agreement between your party, the KMT, the Kuomintang, and the Chinese Communist Party back in the
No, not two parties. Two governments.
The two governments.
Yes.
And they agreed that there would be a conception of one China, though the two sides would interpret one China differently, what that meant. I should say that the ruling party in Taiwan, the DPP, does not subscribe to the 1992 consensus. So for an American audience, I want to just ask you to state kind of simply, what is the main difference between your party and the majority party in Taiwan?
So the ruling party, the Democratic Progressive Party, DPP, under their party platform, it is actually a Taiwan independence platform, meaning they seek the permanent separation between Taiwan and mainland China. So this is the reason why in the last decade under the DPP government, they tried to sever all kinds of cross-strait exchanges completely, thereby causing a great increase in hostility. So that's the reason why the whole world has been very anxious whether wars will break out across the Taiwan Strait anytime. So this is the reason why my party, the KMT, at this critical moment is hoping to prove to the world that both sides of the Taiwan Strait are still able to have exchanges in dialogue, and the possibility for peaceful relations across the Taiwan Strait is still possible.
I should note that the DPP party, the ruling party, denies that it's increasing the risk of hostilities. That's its position. Chairwoman Zheng, I want to ask you one last question, separate from the Taiwan Straits issue, separate from the security. Americans hardly know anything about Taiwan. They know it's right next to China. Mm-hmm. They may know a novel about China just won a prestigious International Book Award. They may know they play baseball in Taiwan. That's all Americans know. Can I ask you if there's one thing about Taiwan, its people, its culture, that must be preserved? One personal thing to you.
After World War II, on Taiwan, we developed a democratic system. We achieved economic prosperity, and also we have developed the world-famous semiconductor industry, including the company TSMC. So the whole world has lauded Taiwan for creating and achieving these miracles. So not just economic, but also political miracles. And these miracles deserve to be protected and continued.
KMT Chairwoman Zheng Liwen, thank you very much.
Thank you.